Hello friends, welcome to Gunny Moto. This episode is a continuation from the last episode. And Happy New Year, by the way. I took this ride several weeks back, obviously. And as you can see, it's near Gunnison. This is on Signal Peak. That tiny little squiggle up in the upper right, that's the entirety of this episode. It's kind of an out and back and out. And I was trying to dodge the hunters and not mess up what they were doing. But it ended up being a really fun ride. One thing I wanted to point out is that when you're on these little BLM roads, they're not always on the map. You can see here where the gate was at the top, where the cattle were, moo, and where the turnaround point was, where you see the hunters. But none of the roads even show. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the ride today. Thanks for riding along.
Look at this BLM road that's going through the valley there. Looks like I'd have to go through at least 2 gates to get over to it. End up on Highway 50. Decisions. Oh man. You know what? I see a sign over there that I think might say no trespassing. So this may be that even if I go through this gate and the next gate, that I don't actually get to my road going down in the valley. Maybe I'll save it for another day. We'll go back and explore more of the roads closer to Gunnison. So, I had a motorcycle when I was a kid. A Yamaha Enduro 100, little bitty thing. And I did eventually outgrow it. But I bring it up because that's how I learned to ride. For years and years and years, I was out on the cattle trails and the fields and when I finally decided that the bike was worn out and that I was too big for it anyway, I sold it to a father and a son who decided to fix it up and have that boy learn to ride too. I felt really good about that because I could see the excitement in that young man's eyes that I had when I first got it. And I promised myself I'd buy another motorcycle as soon as I could. But at this point I was getting into college and life got very expensive. After college, I found a wife. A year later, we had our first son. The career was young, so the income wasn't that high. My wife and I decided it was her call, but she said there's nothing that I would rather do in life that would give life more meaning than to stay home with my kids. And so we made the decision that she would stay home with the kids and we'd live off of my income, as meager as it was at the time. So we had to make ends meet. And then came my daughter, and then came another son, and then came another son. And you know what? I'm going to get a little bit of momentum up. This is another steep one. Yeehaw. I wasn't expecting that kind of riding today. Look how far we've come. See Signal Peak there? The pointy one? Way back there? We came up the other side of that. Man, these roads go on forever. So I finally got my motorcycle. after more than 30 years of waiting. 35 years. I bought this old DRZ 400. There was so much meaning in raising that family. I still find meaning in loving on my family, my kids, my wife, giving. It was worth not having a motorcycle for. Instead, we had family things that we could do together. But now the kids are grown and doing their own thing, and I'm back on a motorcycle after all these years. It's been kind of fun because, you know, I never was a top-notch motorcycle racer or anything like that, you know. But I learned how to be safe and how to enjoy a good ride. But getting on this DRZ 400, you know, I'm learning some things all over again. And I really have fun riding this motorcycle. I think it's the greatest thing. I love being in nature and exploring like this. Truly wonderful. Well, I think I'll take the road more traveled, and then maybe we'll come back this way again. But I think starting this YouTube channel has more purpose than just having fun on a motorcycle. Because I can share the love of nature and the sport with you. And I can share a little bit of the lessons learned through life. You know, you don't have to agree with me. Matter of fact, if you're not thinking for yourself, you've got a problem. But I think that it's wonderful when we can learn from each other. When people, even when they disagree, can listen and consider. Because that's how we get smarter and make life better for everyone. So sometimes I like to talk about kind of philosophical stuff, or even politics. Shoot, we might even talk about religion. You don't have to agree. I'm not certain, but I think that I have been on this road one time. On my mountain bike. Not on a motorcycle. And I was coming from the other direction, and that's why I'm not certain. We're actually headed back the same way that we were when we got to that gate and all the cattle. We're just on the other side now on the road more traveled. We could end up in the same place. That would be fun. The road goes on forever. Speaking of religion, I believe in that. I believe the road goes on forever. And I don't mean that we just go around the planet over and over again. No, you can't cheat Father Time. Eventually this body's going to wear down, the ticker's going to quit ticking, and then I am going on life's biggest adventure. Okay, another gate. What do we have here? This probably is cattle, but there are little pieces of private land in here, so I don't want to trespass. There's a sign on the other side. It says, please close the gate. Here's some history for you. Look down this old log fence line. Man, they started with logs, then it looks like there's some hog wire. Eventually it got so weathered that it was replaced with the new steel fence posts. But this has been a division point for a long, long time. So much history. I'd like to meet the man who built that log fence. I'd like to see him do it and pick his brain for the wisdom that he held in his heart and in his mind. Those were different times. But people were still people. And I will argue that we have not gotten any smarter. Not at all. It's downhill a little bit. Here we are in the aspen. They've lost their leaves. That gate could be the forest boundary. Leaving the BLM and entering the forest? Maybe. I don't know how I did that. We've learned more. There's more knowledge today. You know, Moore's Law, talking about how quickly technology doubles and how it doubles more quickly. It's an exponential function. I don't know. I think we're getting more and more knowledgeable and learning more and more things, and it just goes faster and faster and faster, but that doesn't mean we're smarter. Certainly, people are very knowledgeable. Well, we have come out. This is Lost Canyon, the top of Lost Canyon Road, the forest road from episode 1. Over there, not over here. I'm going to go right, because I want to see more of what we're exploring today. We have a bunch of hunters camping up here. Part of my goal today was to not bother the hunters, because it is hunting season and they wait all year for this. They want to have a good hunt. I don't want to be out here causing them problems. It's one of the reasons I stuck to the drier BLM, even though there are deer and antelope and sometimes elk in there too. There's deer camp. I'll bet they're having fun tonight. How many deers did you have, Charlie? Look at this, we're headed right back down to those same cattle on the backside. Well, we're going to find out now if it's private property. If it's simple enough, I might go on down that valley yet. I believe in life after death. I believe that the way we live this life now matters. And that in the hereafter, we get to have a whole other adventure. My dad passed away this year. I believe he was 82. I'll tell you that story. My parents had divorced when I was 18. And my dad headed in other directions. And he ended up remarrying and raising a second family. And they deserved his attention too. But never really got to know my dad as an adult. You know, that adult friendship that some people get to share with their fathers. And it just wasn't in the deck for me. Not for me and my dad. I mean, we kept in touch over the phone, a visit every few years. But in his aged condition, his health was failing him, and he needed some support from his older kids. And so he came to Colorado, and he got to reacquaint. We got reacquainted for about 4 months. And then he went home on life's big adventure. So this was the second gate that I saw from back there. Looks like we found the watering hole. I don't want to freak out the herd, but they're sleeping right where I want to go. State land behind this sign. Excuse me, ladies. May I get through? I gotta cross this cattle guard pretty straight on. Hey, we made it. Well, the state land is on the other side of the fence, and that's probably a wildlife protection area. That's what most of the state land is here. Little pockets of it, you know, 100 acres here, 500 acres there. The BLM land, that's what we're on here. Vast. And we get to go down this valley after all. This ought to be wonderful. Down into the aspen, along the creek bottom. A lot of these dry draws, you know, they have a little water in the spring and they stay moist year round. So they just draw this life. Trees and willows and animals, flowers. It's amazing how much water is life-giving. Speaking of meaning, there's a parallel for you. This is fun. You know, what do you think we ought to label this episode? Getting lost in the BLM? Maybe. Speaking of getting lost, I started to say before I distracted myself that a few episodes ago I took a road and didn't know where it came out, and found out that my digital map on my cell phone wasn't going to work for me, even though I had downloaded the maps. They wouldn't display. I don't know what the deal was with that. So I got a different piece of software, and I was assured that it worked offline just great. Maybe it does. We're offline. maybe I'll pull it out and look. But the other thing I did is I bought a good old-fashioned paper map. Now the problem with a paper map is that it'll show you where you can go, but it doesn't necessarily show you where you are. Here's some hunters. Maybe I'll go visit with them a little bit. I don't want to mess up their hunting. Hi there.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you? Any luck?
No, waiting for him.
Waiting for him?
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about going that way, but I didn't want to mess up what you're doing here. So what's your plan? I'll go back the other way I came.
I'm waiting for things to come out up here. If you want to go down around the bottom, I don't care.
Do you know if this road goes all the way out?
Nope, you'll end up right back on top over there.
Well, battery went dead. And just when I was talking to the hunters, turns out that hunting was the way forward. I didn't want to mess up their hunting. They've been waiting a year for it. So we're going back the way we came. They're just getting their evening hunt on, and they were waiting to see if the deer would come out of those aspen, that stand of aspen, come down toward the drainage here. So the drainage may or may not have water. But you remember where the cattle were, there was a pond. I don't know who paid for the ponds, but these little drainages have ponds. And they're here for cattle, and it helps the wildlife as well. So there's a source of water when everything dries out. And usually there are a series of ponds in these drainages around Gunnison country. So if you walk down one of these drainages, you might find several, I don't know, 4 or 5 ponds. So the deer in the evenings, when they start stirring around, they might be thirsty after hiding in the bushes all day. So they come down to this drainage, and so the hunters are waiting to see if that just happens. But I'm going to head back toward the BLM land and away from the trees and away from the good hunting, because I can hunt trail anywhere. He also said that there are roads that go all the way out to Highway 50, but this one I'd have to go deeper into the forest and go over a couple more ridge lines to get to a dry, I think you said dry gulch trail or something. Now here are these guys blocking the road again. Come on, ladies. I don't know why it's the best place. Sorry to bother you. Those are pretty gentle cattle. Kind of cracks me up. They don't seem to be too spooked by a motorcycle. You never know what life is going to throw your way. There's always hope. And there's one thing that's sure. The only constant is change. Things never stay the same. So if life is going pretty well for you right now, that's great. Keep it so. But appreciate every moment of it. And if life is really hard for you right now, then know it's not going to stay that way, especially if you decide to make a difference and do something about it. There's nothing like good, honest effort to make life better. Being occupied and productive, reading good books, learning, growing, getting out and having fun, exercising, making new friends, taking on new challenges, learning new skills, you know, my dad studied the Bible. That was his thing. And as he got older and older and technology kind of left him behind, he just kept studying the Bible the way he always had, but he started writing books in his own hand. And he wrote many hundreds of pages. Hundreds and hundreds of pages of insights that he had gathered from his particular style of study. And no, I've not read them yet. Matter of fact, very, very challenging read. My dad had an artistic mind, and the way he wrote was more in kind of big overarching themes that weren't very well laid out. Symbols that might be a little opaque. Obscure connections between concepts that make sense in the larger mosaic. What am I saying? I'm saying that one of these days I will read through all of that. And it'll be another way to spend some time with my dad. And my dad just had a small graveside service, military, because he was in the Air Force when he was young. He got the 21 gun salute. This is the way we came, and the way we're going to go. But then there was a memorial service afterwards, and my sister had come across my dad's Bible, and she set it out, and it was open. And the page was covered with pencil and pen and highlighter of many different colors, from how he had worn out the pages over and over and over again. And I thought, well, my sister opened up the Bible to a favorite passage, I guess. So I flipped through the Bible. Nearly every single page was exactly the same. He spent a lifetime on that book. This time it's uphill. I guess I just found it amazing to see the many, many years of dedication. I believe that this is how the gate was originally. Same difference. It'll stay either way.